The year my aunt handed me a mop at Thanksgiving, in front of everyone, was the year I started keeping notes. Not journal entries, not feelings, just dates, quotes, names. A little running record in the Notes app on my phone, tucked between a grocery list and a recipe I'd saved and never made. I didn't know what I'd do with it. I just knew that something had shifted in me, quiet and permanent, like a door clicking shut. The Thanksgiving thing sounds small when I say it out loud. My Aunt Linda, my mother's older sister, slid a mop across the kitchen floor toward me and said, "Zoe, honey, the mudroom is a disaster. You know where everything is." And then she turned back to the adults. The conversation didn't even pause. I was 31 years old. I had a master's degree in finance. I had been managing a portfolio worth more than Linda's entire house for 2 years by then. But I'd also been quietly helping my grandmother, Nana June, for most of my adult life. Driving her to appointments, managing her insurance headaches, wiring the money when the furnace died. The family knew. They just didn't count it as anything. That's what you do for family, they'd say. Meaning, that's what Zoe does. The rest of us have real lives. I picked up the mop. I don't know why. I think I was still in the part of my life where I believed that if I was just patient enough, just good enough, they'd eventually see me differently. I mopped the mudroom while my cousins watched football, and I opened my Notes app while I was at it. November 24th. Linda. Mop. Everyone there. Every summer, the whole family rented out the same resort, Cedar Cliff Lodge, up in the Adirondacks. Had done it for 20 years. It was Nana June's tradition. She'd paid for it herself every year until she got older. And then the family took over, which really meant my Uncle Dennis and Linda organized it, and everyone else just showed up. I showed up too, every year, because Nana June loved it. And because Nana June was the only person in that family who looked at me like I was actually there. She talked about Cedar Cliff the way people talk about church. The porch, the lake, the way the light came through the pines in the morning. It was the one place she seemed to exhale. So I kept going, even when my cousin Britt made little comments about my clothes, or Dennis asked every year what my job actually was, as though the answer might have finally become something he understood. Nana June died in February, 2 years after the Thanksgiving mop incident. I was with her. No one else was, though I'd called them all when she went into hospice. Dennis said he'd come up on the weekend. Linda said she needed to check on her own health situation first. My cousin Britt sent flowers. To me, not to the hospital, which I still think about sometimes. I held Nana June's hand. I told her she was the best person I'd ever known. She told me, and I want to be careful about how I say this, that she had always known I was the one who actually showed up. She said a few other things, too. Things I wrote down in my Notes app after. The will reading was 3 weeks later. Nana June had left her estate in thirds, 1/3 to Dennis, 1/3 to Linda, 1/3 to me. The house, the savings, the bonds, all divided evenly. My family seemed genuinely shocked that I was included at all. Linda's face did something I'd never seen it do before. It went very still. What happened next took about 6 months. And I'm going to be careful here because I'm still not entirely past the part that surprises me most. Dennis and Linda quietly began a process to contest the will. Their argument was that Nana June had been mentally compromised in her final years, and that I, as the person who'd been managing her affairs, had exerted undue influence. My name, in documents, suggesting I had manipulated an elderly woman. The woman who used to quiz me on multiplication tables and sneak me chapter books at Christmas. The woman whose insurance fights I'd handled, whose bills I'd organized, whose hospice nurses I'd interviewed and selected. I had been her person. They were calling that manipulation. I did not respond the way they expected. I hired an estate attorney. I had documentation, years of it. Every wire transfer, every medical appointment, every email thread with her doctors. My notes app, as it turned out, was evidence. Linda and Dennis withdrew their contest 8 weeks later, quietly, without explanation. My third came through in full, and that's when I started thinking about Cedar Cliff. I'd done my research, in the background, the way I do everything now. The lodge had been struggling for years. I'd noticed things on our visits that my family never would have. Occupancy patterns, deferred maintenance, a management structure that was clearly bleeding money. The owners were a couple in their 70s who were ready to sell and couldn't find the right buyer. I made quiet inquiries through a real estate contact I trusted. I used a holding company. I did not use my name. The deal closed in October. Dennis sent out the annual group text in January, the way he did every year. Cedar Cliff Summer Week. Who's in? Booking opens soon. I let the thread go quiet for a few days. Then I sent a message, just to Dennis and Linda, separate from the group. Hey, wanted to let you know before the general announcement. I'm actually the new owner of Cedar Cliff, closed on it last fall. Happy to honor the family rate you've had, but I wanted you to hear it from me first. I did not add anything else. I did not explain. I did not gloat. I set my phone face down on my kitchen counter and made myself a cup of tea. Winda called. I didn't answer. Dennis texted back something confused, and then something angry, and then nothing. Britt, oddly, sent me a voice memo saying, "Holy shit, Zoe," which was the most honest thing she'd ever said to me. Here's the part that still sits strangely in my chest. About 2 weeks after the news made its way around the family, I got a call from my mother. She and I had always been careful with each other. She'd never spoken up about the mop, or the will contest, or any of it. But she'd never participated in it directly either. She was the person in the middle, which had always felt, to me, like a kind of absence. She told me that when she was young, Nana June had offered to help her buy into Cedar Cliff. There had been a co-ownership opportunity years ago, and my mother had passed because Linda said it was a bad investment. She'd regretted it. She told me Nana June had known I would do something with my life that no one expected, that she'd told my mother so more than once. I didn't know what to say. I think I just listened. The summer week happened. Dennis and Linda didn't come. My mother did. We sat on that porch together, the one Nana June had loved, and watched the light come through the pines in the morning. We didn't talk about any of it. We had coffee. We watched a heron cross the lake. I didn't feel triumphant. I want to be honest about that. What I felt was quieter and harder to name, something like the end of a very long wait for something I hadn't even known I was waiting for. Not revenge, exactly. More like the world finally correcting its own ledger. I still have those notes. I haven't deleted them. Not yet. But some mornings I open my phone and don't feel the need to look at them at all. That's probably how I'll know when it's actually over.